Hello, folks. Welcome back to Trend Top. Think you know what's inside a KitKat? Think again. Though the popular candy bars are billed as chocolate-covered wafer bars, it turns out you're not just diving into a classy cookie when you take a bite of one of those sweet creations. As it turns out, a BBC Two show called Inside the Factory that went behind the scenes at the Nestle plant in York, England, revealed a little-known fact about the beloved candy bars. The crispy wafers are stuffed with crushed-up KitKats. In other words, KitKats are filled with other KitKats. How's that for meta? The revelation came about when presenter Greg Wallace inquired about what happens to all of the broken confections. They go into rework, where they're used for the fillings for the wafer. A factory worker dished. Though the show, which profiles different food factories in Britain, was initially released in 2015, a recent re-airing of it has ignited the KitKat conversation all over again. As one confounded Twitter user put it, the inside of KitKat bar is crushed up KitKat bars, which makes you wonder how the first KitKat bar was ever even made. Pondered another, wait, the filling is ground up KitKat? However, as Today Food pointed out, the production process for KitKats in the UK is likely not identical to the one that occurs in the United States. That's because KitKats across the pond are manufactured by Nestle, while the bars sold stateside are made by Hershey. Still, the American candy producer remained frustratingly tight-lipped when asked about the inner workings of a KitKat, telling the outlet, "While we make and sell KitKat bars in the US under a global license from Nestle, the manufacturing process for KitKat is proprietary under this license." A Nestle UK spokesperson was only slightly more helpful, adding, "To clarify, the choc layer, the filling between the wafers of a KitKat, is made from a cocoa liquor, sugar, and a small amount of reworked KitKat." In this world, there are two kinds of KitKats. One, made by Nestle and sold everywhere except in the United States, comes in a myriad of flavors that are collected and adored by candy snobs all over the world. The other, made by Hershey and sold in only America. Well, it does not. Or if you want to be kind about it, it prefers the tried and true over experimentation. It's not that Hershey hasn't been thinking about new KitKat flavors. The people at Hershey know how much the candy world has been bitching about how the American KitKats aren't as exciting as the ones in Japan. This is in fact the second most frequent KitKat complaint received at Hershey headquarters in Hershey, Pennsylvania. The first is from the unfortunate people who got defective KitKats without wafers. Over the years, food scientists at Hershey have been quietly experimenting with new KitKat flavors in the company's chocolate innovation lab, some 300 in all, although the only people who get to eat them are trained testers in Hershey's research and development facility. The people at Hershey's were really excited about maple bacon, but they couldn't get the texture right, and the attempts at soda flavors went flat because soda needs to be cold and fizzy to taste like soda. But it's a new decade. Times are changing, and now Hershey has decided it wants to let some of the new KitKat flavors out into the world, and incidentally make American KitKat as cool as international KitKat. It's already released with great fanfare, the full-size mint plus dark chocolate duo, and with a bit less fanfare, two limited edition miniatures, sweet cinnamon for Christmas and raspberry creme for Valentine's Day. Lemon crisp miniatures will be there in time for Easter. In preparation of the dawn of a great new era of KitKat, last month Hershey brought 10 journalists and influencers to Hershey to visit the Chocolate Innovation Lab and meet with members of the KitKat team. I was one of them. This was the first time anyone on the team could remember inviting reporters in. It was like getting a golden ticket to Willy Wonka's factory, except that there are no sinister men begging me to steal an everlasting gobstopper, and I will kill all suspense now by telling you that no one fell into a chocolate river or turned into a blueberry that was rolled away by Oompa Loompas. Augustus Club will not be harmed. Since I was not allowed into the factory itself, it's on a hill surrounded by the sort of fences and guardhouses you see around prisons and other important federal sites. And to get approval to go inside, even Hershey employees who work in other buildings have to go through several levels of clearance. I don't know for sure that there's no chocolate river, although every Hershey employee I asked said no. I do know that there are bowls of Hershey's miniatures in every room, and it is someone's actual job to go around filling them. Suzanne Prucha, the marketing director of KitKat and also Payday, was the one who told me about the candy etiquette in meetings, and also about how KitKat USA is very aware that it has been compared to KitKat International and found wanting. "We design with the US consumer in mind," she said. The pipeline of flavor development is crazy extensive. We work with a 2-2 matrix uniqueness and appeal. We don't want something so polarizing that it's off-putting. Earl Grey tea, for instance, scores high on uniqueness but very low on universal appeal, or as Prusha put it, the taste is acquired. Lately, KitKat has been experimenting with what it calls white cream, which is sort of like white chocolate but bland enough that it can be flavored to taste like other things. Milk chocolate can be too overpowering, which you may have already found out if you tasted like sweet cinnamon miniatures at a Christmas and discovered that they weren't much different from the OG KitKat except their texture was a little waxier and they smelled a little spicier. But with white cream, you can mix in some mint flavor and then dye the chocolate green so it contrasts with the dark chocolate bottom of a duo. Or flavor it lemon and dye it in the pale yellow that makes you think of Easter bunnies. It looks better than plain old brown on Instagram, which has become an important consideration. It's not about the appearances though, obviously, otherwise we could just be eating wax, for all I care. When the research and development team began working in earnest on the lemon crisp KitKat, they started with one very basic but also very complicated question. What does lemon taste like? Or rather, what kind of a lemon would appeal to the greatest number of people? Justin Kokura's official title is Senior Manager of Chocolate Product Development, but he was also introduced to us as a magician. He is one of the people who gets to make up new flavors in the Chocolate Innovation Lab. Some of those flavors are requested by the marketing department based on research data about popular flavors. Others come from members of the product development team themselves who get inspired and wonder what their inspirations will taste like. We're working on things all the time, he said. Inside the innovation lab, a medium-sized room with a large square granite countertop that holds kitchen-sized devices for tempering and mixing chocolate as well as a few plastic KitKat molds, Kokura passed out 4 small squares of lemon-colored and flavored white cream. All 4 were candidates for the icing on the new lemon crisp KitKat. The first sample, for instance, had more of a lemon zest flavor. It had an edge of bitterness from the pith. The second was sweeter, like the filling of a lemon meringue pie. The third was sour, like a lemonhead hard candy. The fourth was the one the team finally went with, a less sugary iteration of sample 2. The flavor is going into the white cream, Kokura said, but it has to work with a wafer. You're building all these things together. What's the icing bringing? What's the wafer bringing? What's the color bringing? Lemon crisp, he said, was surprising. He hoped that the surprise would delight customers. The wafer itself is the same wafer that all the other KitKats have been using since KitKats began, back in 1935, and no one saw any reason to mess with something so essential to its identity. Or as Prusha put it, the wafer is the great equalizer. Team KitKat was reticent about the new flavors that it would be introducing later this year. Just because a flavor has been leaked, team members said that didn't mean it would actually go into production. As long as you would have a mold, some wafers, and chocolate or icing, it's not terribly hard to whip up a prototype in the Chocolate Innovation Lab. But it doesn't explain the mysterious new flavors that I spotted on the KitKat website while I was working on this story. It promised glorious new possibilities like strawberry, matcha, red velvet, banana, cookies, and cream, and sakura. When I asked someone from Hershey's PR about it, though, she attributed their appearance to an error in building the website. Aside from lemon crisp and a new flavor that's going to be announced next week, no one from Hershey is prepared to admit they know anything more about the upcoming flavors. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and see you in the next video.